Hello everyone, welcome to the KZGN News. Today we'll bring you news from the election yesterday, another update from the GSA, Supreme Court news, news from Sacramento, an announcement from the Ridgecrest Police Department, VA news, today's gas prices, weather, sports, and much more.
From the Rademacher Hills to Bee Mountain and the mighty Sierras, Ridgecrest to Inyokern and China Lake, this is your news for the Indian Wells Valley with the KZGN News crew.
Hello, I'm Tom Whitney. Thanks for joining us for the news affecting Ridgecrest and the Indian Wells Valley. In election news from Tuesday's New York primary, Trump and Clinton won big. Clinton won with 57.9% of the vote to Sanders' 42.1%. They are going to share the 291 delegates available. Trump came in with a resounding victory with 60.5% of the vote compared to Kasich in second place with 25.1%, and way back in third place was Cruz with 14.5%. The Republicans have 95 delegates to cut up. However, with over 50%, Trump will get the majority of the delegates. As of this morning, Trump won every congressional district in New York except one that Kasich won. So Trump will wind up with about 91 delegates and Kasich with about 3 delegates. Cruz didn't win any delegates in New York. That will set the totals for Trump with 847 delegates, Cruz with 559, and Kasich with 147 delegates. So, Trump is about 2/3 of the way to the nomination. For the Democrats, Clinton won 139 delegates to Sanders getting 106. That puts their totals at 1428 for Clinton and 1151 for Sanders. That puts Clinton at almost 3/4 of the necessary delegates. Clinton's victory adds to her delegate lead and damages Sanders' claim that he can catch up to her. Clinton had long led in the polls, although Senator Bernie Sanders, a Brooklyn native, refused to concede the state without a fight. The Clinton team recognized New York was very important and knew what a loss would mean. Sanders attracted massive crowds across New York. More than 28,000 people turned out to see him in Brooklyn's Prospect Park on Sunday. Trump also had to have a good day in New York. To stop the momentum Cruz was building up in the last couple of caucuses that Trump is declaring were rigged. Trump said that wins in states where the people didn't have a chance to actually vote for the candidate is not right and should be against the rules. Trump believes that the people have the right to elect their candidates, and national polling shows 72% of the people agree with him. In exit polling in New York Tuesday, 64% of Republicans believe that whoever gets the most delegates should be the nominee, even if they don't reach the majority number of 1237. As long as one nominee gets real close and the next candidate is considerably behind, then the leader should get the nomination. Anyway, the next big elections are now less than a week away. Next Tuesday will be another Super Tuesday. Elections will be held in Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Maryland, Rhode Island, and Delaware. The Republicans have 172 delegates available. The Democrats will fight over 384 delegates. The polls are showing these states should be good for Trump and Clinton. However, Sanders is having a decent number in some of those states and could challenge her in those states. Then the next election will be Indiana. Cruz and Kasich are setting their sights on beating Trump in Indiana. So Trump is going to have a fight there. And Sanders is hoping to repeat his Michigan win and take Indiana from Clinton. Yesterday we had a report from the groundwater sustainability meeting from last Friday. Here are some comments from Supervisor Gleason, a representative from China Lake, and just one member of the audience making a suggestion to the agency members.
We've been doing this for almost a year and a half, 2 years now. And I've seen people who disagree vehemently on issues, but all of them consistently demonstrate the desire for success. It's not like we have people here that are resisting success. They want this to succeed. They want to create a sustainment plan, and they want to win. I can't say that across Kern County, but I can tell you that's a fact here. One of the problems we have, which is probably similar to a lot of problems across your sphere of influence, is building community support for what we're trying to do. We have, probably a lot like many other communities, we have a sphere of thought. We have a spectrum this wide of people who have different opinions as to what Sigma is, what it means, and how we're going to respond to it.
The cooperative work that we've been doing with these good folks in terms of studying the basin and trying cooperatively to understand how best to develop, how best to model, and how best to conserve the water in this basin. So we're proud to be part of continuing that process and getting to a resolution that works for everybody. We plan to actively participate. We're also associate members, non-voting. We're federal agencies, so we can't be a full member of this local organization. But we plan to continue doing what we've done for years, which is providing in-kind and technical support and helping out as much as we can to get the right answer.
My question is, can you update your graph or your chart that you presented? Because I went down to the water district and I acquired the well sounding data for the 11 deep wells that we draw our water from. And your graph or your picture does not show the 3 wells that are coming back up. Wells 8, 9, and 13, particularly well number 8, which is really not a currently production well. It's capped off, but it's come up 48 feet.
So stay tuned for more news on the GSA. Everyone needs to be involved in this new agency. Well, in some pre-court news, last Monday they heard a case brought by 26 states against Obama's illegal executive orders changing illegal immigration law. The court appeared divided between its liberal and conservative justices over President Obama's immigration programs that could affect millions of people who are in the country illegally. The administration's best hope for a favorable ruling after 90 minutes of arguments at the High Court appeared to rest with Chief Justice John Roberts. Roberts asked questions suggesting that he could side with the administration if there were a small change in the proposed programs. The administration is asking the justices to allow it to put in place 2 programs that could shield roughly 4 million people from deportation and make them eligible to work in the United States. Texas is leading 26 states dominated by Republicans in challenging the programs that Obama announced in 2014 and that have been put on hold by lower courts. The programs would apply to parents whose children are citizens or are living in the country legally. Eligibility also would be expanded for the President's 2012 effort that applies to people who were brought here illegally as children. More than 700,000 people have taken advantage of that earlier program. Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. The new program for parents, known as Deferred Action for Parents of Americans, and the expanded program for children could reach as many as 4 million people. The fate of the programs could hang on a 2-word phrase the administration used to describe the status of immigrants under the programs, and those are lawful presence. Texas and congressional Republicans who back this state say that the phrase is important because it gives the immigrants more rights than federal law allows. If the court is split ideologically, the case could end up in a 4-4 tie following Justice Antonin Scalia's death in February. That will leave the programs in limbo, almost certainly through the end of Obama's presidency. Both sides acknowledge that the outcome of the presidential election could determine the program's fates, even if the Supreme Court rules for the administration. The High Court is expected to decide by late June whether the efforts can move forward. Republican governors and members of Congress have argued that Obama doesn't have the power to effectively change immigration law by simple executive order. Laws can only be changed by Congress. When he announced the measure 17 months ago, Obama said he was acting under his own authority because Congress has failed to overhaul the immigration system. Now stay with us. After the break, we'll have some news from Sacramento. Thanks for staying with us. In news from Sacramento, the Assembly Public Safety Committee voted to approve Assemblywoman Shannon Grove's anti-human trafficking bill this afternoon with the help of testimony from several Kern County witnesses. Bakersfield Police Department Sergeant Jeff Burdick, Magdalene Hope, President and founder Doug Bennett, as well as several human trafficking victims waited over 4 hours before being allowed to testify at the Capitol hearing. In the end, AB 2188 passed with a 4-3 vote. The new law would give law enforcement increased authority to arrest adults for soliciting sex from minors. I'm so glad committee members decided to stand with the 14-year-old victims of human trafficking and not with those buying our children for sex, said Assemblywoman Shannon Grove. Our law enforcement officials need the ability to arrest adults that are combing our streets looking for young teens they can purchase. This bill will help that happen. The bill would provide law enforcement the authority to arrest any adult when there is probable cause to believe they solicited sex from a minor. Currently, law enforcement officials can only arrest an adult for soliciting sex from a minor if they witness the solicitation or if there is another witness to the crime. The chair of the Assembly Public Safety Committee 3 times tried to prevent Grove's legislation from being heard in his committee. The bill was originally co-authored by the vice chair of the Women's Caucus, Assemblymember Cristina Garcia. The Assembly Public Safety Chair told Garcia the bill would die in his committee unless she removed the arrest authority language from the bill. Although Garcia fought to keep the language in the bill, she agreed to remove it, so the bill would pass through the Public Safety Committee last Tuesday. Then today, Grove's bill almost wasn't allowed to be heard in the Public Safety Committee. After waiting 4 hours, Grove was ready to testify when the chair let someone present in front of her. When it was Grove's turn, the chair said she would have to wait until tomorrow for the bill to be heard because they ran out of time. Grove was eventually allowed to proceed, but the chair required her to cut short her testimony, and he wouldn't let any of the committee members ask any questions. The bill will now be scheduled for a hearing in the Assembly Appropriations Committee sometime within the next few weeks. Now here's an announcement from the Ridgecrest Police Department. The RPD Traffic Unit will be conducting a DUI driver's license checkpoint on Friday, 4/22, at an undisclosed location within the city limits between the hours of 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. RPD's DUI enforcement team will also be deployed to stop and arrest alcohol and drug-impaired drivers in the department's ongoing traffic safety campaign. DUI saturation patrols will deploy on Friday between the hours of 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. in areas with high frequencies of DUI collisions and/or arrests. The deterrent effect of DUI checkpoints is a proven resource in reducing the number of persons killed and injured in alcohol or drug-involved crashes. Research shows that crashes involving an impaired driver can be reduced by up to 20% when well-publicized DUI checkpoints and proactive DUI patrols are conducted routinely. DUI checkpoints are placed in locations based on collision statistics and frequency of DUI arrest, affording the greatest opportunity for achieving drunk and drug driving deterrence. Locations are chosen with safety consideration for the officers and the public. In California, this deadly crime led to 867 deaths and over 23,000 serious injuries in 2013 because someone failed to designate a sober driver. Nationally, the latest data shows over 10,000 people were killed by an impaired driver. Officers will be looking for signs of alcohol and/or drug impairment, with officers checking drivers for proper licensing, delaying motors only momentarily. Specially trained officers will be available to evaluate those suspected of drug-impaired driving, which now accounts for a growing number of impaired driving crashes. Recent statistics reveal that 30% of drivers in fatal crashes had one or more drugs in their systems. A study of active drivers showed more tested positive for drugs than that may impair driving for alcohol. Of the drugs, marijuana was most prevalent at 7.4%, slightly more than alcohol. Everyone should be mindful that if you're taking medication, whether prescription or over-the-counter, drinking even small amounts of alcohol can greatly intensify the impairment effects. Law enforcement emphasizes the preventable nature of drunk driving, reminding everyone that all it takes is a little planning ahead. Designate a sober driver or call a cab. But whatever you do, don't drink and drive. The California Office Traffic Safety Designated Driver VIP mobile app is now available for free. You can download it on iOS and Android devices. Launched last year, the new app offers enhanced features, allowing users to map a spot with their current location to find partnering establishments throughout California. Users will be offered free incentives at each bar to celebrate their life-saving role. They can stay up to date and see what other users are saying via its social tab. Drivers caught driving impaired can expect the impact of a DUI arrest to include jail time, fines, fees, DUI classes, other expenses that can exceed $10,000, plus increased insurance costs, not to mention the embarrassment when friends and family find out. Funding for this checkpoint is provided to the Ridgecrest Police Department by a grant from the California Office of Traffic Safety through the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Remind everyone to report drunk drivers, call 911. Face it, it's just not worth drunk driving. Don't do it. The person that might fall victim to a drunk driver could be your family member. Now here's a recent story about some terrible accusations against the Veterans Administration. The Office of Inspector General launched surprise raids of 10 Veterans Affairs regional offices after receiving a tip from a whistleblower. And what they found was disturbing. According to the recently released report, the VA has been methodically destroying hundreds of veterans' benefits and claim documents at their offices in Atlanta, Chicago, Houston, New Orleans, Philadelphia, and Reno. And those actions could result in loss of claim and medical evidence, incorrect decisions, and delays in claims processing. According to the report, they found the staff had scheduled for destruction documents that either directly affected veterans' benefits, could have affected them, or should have at least been kept in veterans' claim folders. And these were just the documents discovered during the surprise audit, meaning the problem could be much more widespread than the IG has found. The potential effects should not be minimized. Considering that there are 56 veteran offices, the report concluded if weekly shredding is conducted, it is highly likely that claims-related documents at other centers are being improperly scheduled for destruction that could result in loss of claims and evidence, incorrect decisions, and delays in claims processing. The VA has struggled with scandals for nearly 3 years since news emerged out of Phoenix of chronic delays for veterans seeking medical care and falsified records covering up the long waiting periods. Similar problems were soon discovered at VA medical centers nationwide, affecting thousands of veterans and prompting an outcry in Congress. Now in KZGN's continuous effort to provide news and information you asked for, here are today's gas prices for Ridgecrest and some surrounding areas. Well, since my last report, local prices have once again dropped. And the good news is we still have the lowest prices in all the areas we're monitoring. As of this morning, Ridgecrest is ranging from $2.49 to $2.99, Lancaster from $2.69 to $2.99, the LA Valley area $2.59 to $2.85, and the Bishop area $2.77 to $2.99. We have one station at $2.49 and 3 stations at $2.53 per gallon. Tune in Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for updates. We at KZGN always suggest you shop locally to support our local economy. Remember, when you pay sales tax out of town, you're helping those cities pave their streets instead of here. Now stay with us for weather and sports when we come back.
From the National Weather Service, showers and thunderstorms will continue over already soaked portions of the Texas Gulf Coast and portions of the Southern Plains. Farther west, snow showers will continue for the higher elevations of the Rockies. Warm and windy conditions will be in place across the Northeast and Northwest. Temperatures across the nation: Carolinas at 64, Georgia at 79, Arkansas at 69, Northern Texas at 65, New Mexico at 64, and Los Angeles at 79. And for us locally, tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 56, south-southwest wind 5 to 15 miles per hour with gusts as high as 20. Thursday, mostly sunny with a high near 89, south wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. Thursday night, partly cloudy with a low around 57, south-southwest wind 10 to 15 miles per hour. Friday, partly sunny with a high near 78, southwest wind 10 to 15 miles per hour with gusts as high as 25. Friday night, mostly cloudy with a low around 52, west-southwest wind 15 to 20 miles per hour with gusts as high as 30. Saturday, mostly sunny with a high near 77, south-southwest wind 5 to 10 miles per hour with gusts as high as 15. Saturday night, partly cloudy with a low around 53, west wind 5 miles per hour. And Sunday, mostly sunny with a high near 80, west wind 5 miles per hour.
And a very pleasant Wednesday early evening to everyone. Let's start with Saracosto baseball. Yesterday the Coyotes in a long losing streak. They defeat Victor Valley by a score of 8-6. That game played in Victorville. The team returns home tomorrow. They will take on Victor Valley, game 2 of that 3-game series, and back to Victor Valley on Saturday at noon. Tomorrow's game will be broadcast on 12:40 a.m. Also SaracostoBaseball.club. Burroughs baseball and softball in action today. The softball team is at home. They take on Apple Valley varsity and JV. Major League Baseball yesterday, the Angels lose to the White Sox. by a score of 6-0. The Angels now 6-8 overall. They'll play one more today, then they will come home and play Seattle 3 games over the weekend. The Dodgers lost to Atlanta 8-1 down in Georgia. They're also playing tonight. Legend Pearl Washington, one of the best basketball players ever to play in the Big East, played for the University of Syracuse, passed away at the age of 52 yesterday. He had been fighting brain cancer. NBA last night, Atlanta over Boston. They're now 2-0 in the series. San Antonio easily over Memphis. They're now 2-0. Both teams now switch locations. They'll go to Boston for Game 3 Friday. Likewise, Memphis will host San Antonio on Friday night. Tonight, Charlotte and Miami, that'll be Game 2. Miami won Game 1. Detroit and Cleveland. Cleveland won Game number 1. And Portland and the Clippers, Game number 2. The Clippers won Game number 1, tonight's game at Staples Center. The Ducks survived. They beat Washington, or beg your pardon, they beat Nashville last night. 3-0. That series now 2-1 in favor of Nashville. And the Kings and the Sharks play tonight, game number 4 up in San Jose. The Kings won the other night in overtime, 4-3. The Sharks will lead the series 2-1. Fifth grade basketball league continues tonight with some games up at Saracoso College. Richmond boys and girls against Las Flores, Inyo Kern and St. Anne boys and girls, and Gateway and Pierce boys and girls starting at 5 o'clock at the college. That'll be your sports on this Wednesday. I'm Tom Heck for KZGN.
So that's the news for today. Also, KZGN-TV know you have a choice in what you watch for your news. We all thank you for choosing KZGN-TV, Ridgecrest's only locally owned community TV station. Now stay tuned for Ridgecrest Talk coming up next.